again. Welcome to the Knitworthy Podcast Project Craft Tutorials. This particular tutorial is going to be great.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Oh, good. Because we are going to learn how to create a belt for your journal.
Ooh.
Because we're hoping they're going to be fat and sassy by the time we're done. Just like us. And so we're going to learn how to put a belt on it to keep the it's
pages
really
together.
It's pretty. It keeps the pages together, but it's pretty too. And we're going to be making a bookmark that is attached, just like the ones you get in fancy books.
Oh my goodness.
They're going to be fancy.
We are so fancy, people.
Yes. And we're going to talk a little bit about tabs in your composition notebook.
Perfect.
Who doesn't like a good tab?
I love tabs.
Okay.
All right.
Should we learn how to do it?
Let's go.
All right. Join us.
Hello everyone.
Hi.
Okay, this tutorial is going to be how to attach a belt to your project craft journal.
Yes.
All right, this is mine. I did the elastic and I added some embellishments. I added a button and some, I did the button by just sewing, taking a few stitches into the elastic so the button would stay put, and then I tied the rest of these around the shank of the button, just for an idea. The belt is attached in the back on these buttons that go through the cover. So Brianne has decided that she would like to have a similar belt on hers without all the fussy stuff. So Brianne, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Bring it on.
The first thing that we need is elastic. So I used what would this be, Brianne? That's not a 1/4 inch elastic.
No, that's like an 1/8 inch elastic.
I would say any kind of elastic is fine. I'll try and get closer so you can kind of see the properties of it. But this is elastic I got on Etsy. But go to any craft store or sewing store and they'll have it. This particular elastic is cording, and it's traditionally used, let me see if I can get there, traditionally used for like Midori's and traveler's notebooks, that kind of thing. They use a corded elastic. And so that's what we're going to use on Brianne's because she likes how it matches hers. I agree.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is turn your notebook upside down because the elastic starts from the back. And what we're going to decide is, where do we want our elastic band to fit? Do we want to contain the outermost edge of the book? Or do we want to do more the center? That's totally up to you. So Brianne, where would you like to contain your notebook? Where?
I kind of like thinking around here.
Okay.
So not quite in the middle, but not quite in the front.
Great. So let's do that. If you do not have a small hole punch, you could use this kind of a hole punch. It's awfully big. You would just have to make sure that your buttons are larger so that the button doesn't get pulled through the hole. I do not like using a hole that big. If you do not have a hole punch, you can certainly take whatever needle will work with your elastic. It'd have to be a larger eye than this, of course. You can thread your elastic onto a needle and you can push the needle through. If you have a sturdy needle and with a point on it, you can push it through the cardboard. But we have a fancy, fun tool that is the, what's it called? Here's a good question. I think it's called oh, how funny. I can't remember the name of it. What is it called? A crocodile? Basically what it does is punch holes and it sets eyelets. And when you punch it, you can see here, this is the hole punch part that I'm pointing at. It has a small side, and if I flip a lever, it has a larger punch. This can go through leather and all sorts of things. You can see it's got a lot of leverage, so it can go through some really sturdy things. So I'm going to set it on the smaller side because our cording's awfully small, and we're just going to use it like a ginormous hole punch. All right, so Brianne, what I want you to do is to go to that spot. Which line was it that you were thinking you wanted to use for your guide?
Here.
Okay, Now what we have to think about is our button is big. If I put my hole on the edge, my button's going to hang off, and I don't want that.
No.
And so we just want to think, where do you want your button to sit? And you're going to place your hole centered on that. So where do you want your button to sit?
Probably right about here.
Okay. And so if that's the case, that's probably your go-to spot.
Okay.
And what I do is get close, and then I turn it so I can see. Oops, let's get back where we were. I turn it so I can see. Was it this one?
Yes.
All right, now, if you can see from the side, I'm trying to make sure they can see too. If you can see when I push down, right here, that little cutter is almost on the center of that flower. Now, I'm going to turn it down so Brianne can actually see. Brianne.
Yes.
Do you see that that hole punch is at the center of that flower?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to let you do it. You're just going to give it a pistol grip here and squeeze the handle together with the thing below it, and it's going to go through so easily you'll be very surprised.
I will be surprised. Okay.
It's not hard at all.
Oh my goodness, that is really surprising.
Isn't that easy? And look what a
Yes.
beautiful hole it made.
Yes.
Nice, tiny, tidy hole. And no breakthrough on the back, which is nice because sometimes hole punches don't go through smoothly, but this one is just a jewel when it comes to hole punching. I've actually used it on leather and went through beautifully, like no problem.
Really?
So now, Brianne, you're going to line up the flower on the other side that most matches the spot that you were aiming for. Okay. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to get close and then eyeball it from the side. Make sure when you punch it, push it down a little bit before you go all the way through to see it's actually lining up where you want it, because you can't put that hole back.
Okay. No pressure.
None.
No. Now, I'm just going to eye it because
Sure.
it's not exactly lined up the same as the other one was.
Unless it bugs you, it doesn't bug me at all.
It doesn't bug me.
Great. Okay, so now the next step is we're going to decide how much elastic do we need. The way I like to do it is I put it around my book, okay, and I let them touch. Now, you're not going to need this much. This is going to give you tons for running through the needle, and you're going to cut off a lot, but what it's going to do is give you room to play. And I hate, once you cut the elastic, you know, there's no healing that either.
That's it.
So I go with a little bit more rather than a little bit less.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is we're going to lift up the back cover. Okay, we're still on the back, correct?
Correct.
We're going to come up from behind and come through the hole.
Okay.
We're just going to do one side at a time. Okay? Now, here's the tricky bit. If it fits through a needle, great. If not, I give it a little bit of a, can you see that I just narrowed the end a little bit to thin it out? Because what I want to do is I want to come up through the back of the button, and I want to come down through the front of the button, and I just want to get enough to, oh, look at that. That's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
So I'm pulling it through. Now, from the front, I'm going to go down the other side. The reason why I do that is I want my tail to be under the button, not on the top of it. So now once it's gone through, it's not quite as cooperative. Sometimes you have to give it another little haircut, which I will do. Just creating a little bit of an arrow shape. And it wants to go through now. Okay, so this side is not as important to get the tension right, just because it is, the other side will determine how much tension you have. So I just need enough so I can tie some really good knots. So I do a double, I think it might be called a surgeon's knot, where you go through the hole twice and then you pull it. It stays, it has a tendency to stay attached a little better, and then I do a third knot that's just a simple knot. Okay, and then you're going to give this a haircut. And what I would suggest when we are done, we're just going to put a dab of glue on the end of that and right on the knot, just to be sure that it's not going anywhere. I do not believe it will. Mine have never gone anywhere. Now we're going to pull.
What if they want to go someplace fun?
They can't.
Oh, man.
They're not allowed.
That's sad.
All right, so now we've got one in place, and we're going to go around to the other side. And Brianne, you get to do this one. You're going to come up through the back side of your back cover. Do you have the other? Here's the other button. All right. Now you may need to trim, but you can try just sticking it through. If the hole's big enough, it may not give you any trouble. I don't know. Otherwise, give it a little point.
I think it's going to need a little trim.
Okay. So you're going to cut it at an angle.
At a pretty steep angle?
Yep. Steeper the better, really.
Okay.
You just want to be able to catch a little bit of the thread. If you can grab hold of any little part of it, you're okay. Now, on this side, put that button all the way down to the paper. Okay? And then run this through, because this particular elastic doesn't like to move as much.
Okay.
Okay, now don't tie a knot yet, because let's see how tight we are. Now, do you see how loose this is?
It's loosey-goosey.
Yeah, that's probably a little too loose. So we are going to tighten that up until, we're not going to tie the knot until we are sure. I mean, actually, if you don't care, you could just leave the length long and just adjust later. But that would drive me crazy.
Me too.
And so pull it until it has, this is tight to the surface, but you can see it's going to be able to grow quite a lot. I mean, I can grow pages like that and still be okay.
Okay.
But it's not loosey-goosey. So you see, what would you call this tension?
Perfect.
Yes, that's perfection, pretty much. All right, so now you're just going to pull this up. Since it's elastic, you can do that. And you're going to tie your 3 knots on the back.
Okay.
This was the other elastic. Did I show it? This is the elastic that I used for mine. Yeah, I did show that.
Yes, you did.
And then the other one was corded elastic, but it's not elastic magic. The only thing that you have to think about is, will the elastic fit through the button?
And can Brianne tie knots? That's the other question.
Well, the good part is, if it happened to break, it's easy enough just to cut the buttons off and tie new elastic on.
That's true.
So.
Okay. All right.
Give yourself a trim. All right, that's how easy it is to put a belt on your journal.
That was simple.
That was simple. And I love the buttons on the back. I use my vintage buttons, and so it always makes me happy to use them. You can, if you're going to add any little danglies on your book, then you can tack them on or tie them on, whatever you like. Now there is another option for adding a belt. Would you like to know what that is, Brianne?
I would love to know.
Let's put this to the side.
Okay.
And let's just grab I have extra journals, of course. And this is just going to be what to do if you want to add a belt that goes the other direction. All right, first we're going to, in this case, we're going to use the gray. And I'm just going to go around here so I have a length, I can cut off a length that is sufficient for what I need. So I went around and left a tag hanging out so I can tie them together. And so, Brianne, if you could cut that for me.
Yes. It's like cutting the cord.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Now, in this case, we are going to be attaching this cord to right there.
Oh my goodness.
Got it?
Okay.
Okay. So what you need is what I should have brought over was a knitting needle. Don't have a knitting needle with me. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to be very carefully poke a hole next to the stitching right there. Okay, that's where I'm going for. Now, what I have to do is take some tape. Where's the tape?
Right here.
Let's just reinforce around the hole with some tape so that it doesn't go through. Now, if you had duct tape, that would be even better. But I'm just going to put a couple layers of tape here so that the hole doesn't grow on me.
Good plan.
Okay.
Would you do that on the other side too, or just on the inside?
I wouldn't do it on the other side just because, well, that's going to bug me. I would have to glue this.
Okay.
So Linda would add a dot of glue, but let's get the belt on first.
Okay.
All right. So what we're going to do in this case is we are just going to fold the elastic in half, and the loose side right here. I'm not sure which is easier. Actually, let's take the folded end and let's go from the inside. Let's get our the scissors. Yeah, right there. Let's just start our hole again. And we're going to punch that through. Now, this is where that pokey tool is a really good idea. In this case, I'm just going to poke it with the scissors. Grab from the other side. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to knot this tail end. What do you call this? An overhand knot? Is that what it's called?
Sure.
You're just agreeing with me now. All right, knot it there.
You should know better than to ask me things.
I know, right? Now, if I'm afraid the knot's going to pull through there, I'm going to give it one more knot to make it bigger. You could put a button on it if you want to be doubly sure it's not going to go through. Okay, and then I'm going to knot the other side so that it can't pull back on itself and disappear back where it came. Like this. Now, getting it close is the trick. You keep it loose and you get close to the end, and you're using your finger to kind of pull. Your finger holds it close to the book and the other hand pulls the knot tight, and that's the only way I know to kind of get it working that way. Now, this is where I would add a dot of glue. Let that dry overnight before I use the book.
Very smart.
And that will help secure it. In fact, I would probably let that glue even go down in that hole. It's going to dry clear. It's not going to hurt a thing. But I will demo for you how well it works, because this kind of an opening, this kind of a belt, will secure your book like this, if that is more of your liking. And that is how it works. Just let that dry and you're all set. So there you have 2 belts. Okay? All right, the last thing we're covering today in this tutorial is how to add page markers. I love tabs. Do you?
I do. They make it so much easier to find a specific page.
They really do. The first thing that I did in my particular journal was I used the yarn I was using to make a tab.
Yes. And
And the way I did that, Brianne, I'm going to show you. Let's say that this challenge that Brianne's doing is going to require some yarn, but in this case, some ribbon. We chose a sparkly gray because it's lovely. What I did was I came in on my project, and as we know, this puncher shows where the hole's going to be. So Brianne, I'm going to set your punch in a little bit into the margin, just because I want to be sure. Now, I didn't quite get it in the right spot, but it just got stuck a little bit here. But what I want to be sure is that I don't get it too close to the edge and it wants to pull out.
okay.
Okay, and what we're going to do is just like what we did in the previous tutorial where we added a ribbon embellishment to our envelope flap. We are going to take a folded piece of yarn or ribbon, and we are going to take the folded piece and we are going to put it through the hole. We're going to take the loop that comes out the other side, and we're going to put the tails through that loop, just like that. Now, the only thing is, because this is paper, we can't just rip on it, or else we'll rip that hole right out, won't we?
Right.
And so we have to very gently ease the yarn. Now, yarn itself was super easy. And what I did, I actually attached it through my header like this.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That was going through some scrapbook paper, which was really hardy. But I'm not going to do that. Now, you can see the way I've got it here, this is going to work its way undone. You can see that, can't you? And so this is where our tiny attacher comes in handy, and we're just going to give it a little extra help, and we are going to staple through the ribbon. That way it won't come out. But it's really amazing how a visual like this can take you to whatever project you're working on very easily.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fun thing. And then you can just take your scissors and you can angle your tails if you like, or you can do the little banner cut where it's got the sawtooth edge. I just did an angle cut. Okay?
All right.
So that's one idea for a tab. The next idea is using a hole punch. I have a scalloped circle that is 1.5 inches. You can cut a plain circle just by tracing around. If you use this like Aleene's Turbo Tacky glue, look at it's a perfect circle. It's a little bit bigger than this, but it'll work. Whatever you have to cut a circle out of. Brianne, what I want you to do is cut 2 using this is an EK Success. I love their punches.
Okay.
Because you can stand them up and you can keep them flat like this. They're easy to store. If you're looking for a punch, I got mine on Amazon.
Okay.
So cut 2, please. And the best way to cut, I forgot to tell you, sorry. Let's say that you had the pattern part, you were trying to get it right. What people do is they turn the cutter upside down, and then you can see through the viewfinder what you want to cut. So let's just pretend you want pattern.
Okay.
And cut it that way. If you cut these out of plain paper, you'd be able to write on them if you like. All right.
Okay.
So now let's pretend on the next page that you want this kind. Now, where would you like to put your tab here?
Perhaps right here.
Okay. So decide what you're going to do is you're going to make a sandwich.
Okay.
You're going to make a sandwich. You're going to put one shape on the back side of your page, one on the front. Decide how much you want sticking up. Then each is going to get glued and stuck together, and it's just going to make an adorable tab.
Okay.
All right, so decide what sides you want out, make your sandwich, and then apply your glue.
Okay. So I want this side out, so I'm going to apply glue on the other side.
Right. You don't have to go all the way to the edge because usually the glue will squish out anyway. So just make a little circle is enough. Now your tabs don't have to be this big either. You could make them smaller if you like. Why don't you go ahead and make your sandwich? Put the back one behind your page and the front one in front of your page.
I did that wrong, didn't I?
Mm-mm. Oh, yeah, that one you did, but that's okay.
Oh well.
It'll be adorable.
It will be adorable. It'll be like mismatched twins.
I love mismatched tabs. They're my favorite. I just want to give them a nice squeeze. Make sure they're firmly attached. And this is the good point where you want to make sure if there's any glue coming out. Now when she's doing the right thing on the scallop. She's making sure the scallops line up. Check the other side, the back side, make sure there's no glue coming out on your page.
That would make it difficult to write on.
It would. And just for the sake of this tutorial, because we're going to go on and use, add some more things, I'm just going to attach this little clip on either side so it doesn't move, because normally you wait till it's nice and dry, but we're going to let it stay there and have a little holiday drying while we go on to the next thing. So there's 2 fun tabs.
All right.
All right. All right. Now we are going to be adding a bookmark to the journal. And I have added a bead and a key, and I've also done a cutout heart. You can put whatever you want on the end of yours, but I wanted 2 because I might want to keep track of 2 pages. So let's show you how we do it.
Let's.
Okay, this is a point where you want to use your a needle, a thick needle, or use your handy dandy crocodile punch. And we're going to have it set on the smallest setting. And we are going to attach our bookmark to the back side, the back cover. So this is the back of Brianne's book. Brianne, I want you to punch a hole right about there. All right?
Okay.
So you are going to take the punch, you're going to line it up. If you do not have a fancy punch, you're just going to use a needle, something bigger than this, and you can just punch it by hand. What you want to be able to do is have the hole be big enough to put through whatever material you are going to be using for a bookmark. How are you feeling about using that tool?
Much more comfortable than I was the first time.
Good. And it gives a nice tiny tool. They make hole punches with smaller holes also, so you don't have to use a big fancy tool. Years ago, someone talked me into getting this, and I didn't use it for probably 6 years. And then I finally decided to learn how to use it, and now I use it all the time. All right, I have waxed linen cord that I use for my bookmaking. It is not magic, so use whatever cord you have that is thin enough to go through your hole. So you could use yarn if you want to. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a double length. We're going to unroll enough. What we want to do is be able to go all the way through the book and hang out the bottom. So from the top and then off the bottom, I'm doing extra. So let's see. I want to have more than enough so I can trim it off. So I would say this is at least a little over a yard. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
A little over a yard. So we need the scissors that I probably put somewhere. Isn't that funny? There it is. Okay. Okay. So Brianne,
Yes.
what I'm going to have you do, we're obviously just going to be feeding this through, and the reason why I put the hole so low is I want to make sure that it doesn't pull through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yes.
We're just going to take one end, feed it through the hole until both ends are lined up. Okay? So you're going to grab both ends, pull them until they line up. Okay? If you can show that on screen. They're lined up now, right?
Yes.
So now we're going to turn this book a little bit because we want it to be coming off of the end like this and be completely matching. Do you see?
Yes.
All right, so it's completely straight now. And Brianne's ends are still here. And what we want to do now is we want to tie a knot. We don't have to do an overhand knot. Just tie a knot like you would in your shoe at the top here.
Okay.
That's going to ensure that it's got an extra layer of safety so that it doesn't pull through. But also it's going to make sure it doesn't like slide around on you. It'll stay anchored at the top. So if you can tie those like you would a knot in your shoe.
Okay.
Do you tie knots in your shoes?
I do.
A lot of people wouldn't.
Maybe in my shoelaces I would.
Ah.
In my shoes, that might be a little bit hard.
Might be. And I tie it tight to the book. You can also add a little glue there if you like. I didn't bother because I don't really pull on my bookmarks. Great. So now, just for the sake of the tutorial, let's put these down through the center and let's work on it as if it's already a bookmark. Right?
Okay.
So as you can see how far it's hanging down here. So you've got about how many inches here?
Probably what, like 5?
Okay. So Brianne, we have several things to put on. We have adorable key. That's a rusty key that I purchased. I purchased rusty keys.
Who knew?
It's crazy. I have a beautiful teal blue kind of glass bead, and I have hearts. Or we could cut a scallop that's bigger.
No, I like the hearts.
You like the hearts? Okay. So pick one of the strings, and we're going to string the bead on. What I like about the waxed cording is you don't need a needle. For the most part, if you have a nice clean cut on the end of the cording, it'll go through. If you use some other kind of fiber, you'll use a needle, a beading needle to take it through. Do you need to cut a quick clean cut?
I do. There we go. Oh, no. Just kidding.
Keep feeding it.
Come on.
We went through easy before.
Come on, little buddy.
You see.
Here,
Let
we'll
me
let
help
the
you.
master try.
All right, let's try again. Now, you see what happened here is it started to unwind. There are several layers to this. Brianne, can you help me with this camera up here while we're talking?
Yes.
There are several plies to this cording, and so we got one ply but not the other going through. Let's try again. Here's the hole. I'm going to come down from above, see if that's magic.
Oh, stop it.
Now you see there's one wanting to stay behind though.
Uh-huh.
Let's try it one more time because it's going to bug me.
Okay.
This is good because people can see it doesn't always happen right the first time. There we go. That's the way it's supposed to go. All right, and so then I decide where do I want my bead to hit. I like it pretty close to the book. How about you?
Sure.
And so we're just going to tie a knot above it. And I'm going to have to work that knot down because I got it a little high. Oh, don't come off. So I need to enlarge it a little bit so it can move down the... There. How does that look?
That looks great.
So now I'm just going to pull up on it so it stays close to the book. And that just will keep it from going up. I don't want the bead getting up in the middle here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And now I'm going to tie another overhand knot here. I don't have a lot left for that key, did I? I probably could have used a little bit longer length of string. All right. Now we have that bead secured. You could just stop with that if you wanted to.
Sure. That's pretty.
Yeah. If you want to add the key, do you?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then you're just going to put that, and all I did with this one was I tied it, I took it up to the bead,
Mm-hmm.
and since I don't have much to work with here, this is going to be really hard to see, but I just tied a couple knots at the top. Like that.
Okay.
And we need at least one more. But in this case, I think we're going to skip it.
Glue?
That we're going to add a dot of glue. And Brianne will do that after the podcast, okay?
Okay.
But I would just give it a couple turns around, put the glue on it, on the turnaround and the knot.
Mm-hmm.
But next time, 5 inches hangover is not enough if you're going to be doing these kinds of embellishments. Now, let's do the hearts, shall we?
Okay.
And what we're doing is making a sandwich again. So what part of the hearts do you want showing?
I like the this part.
Okay. And so we're going to make a sandwich, and what I do is I decide where do I want the heart to fall. Where do you want it, Brianne? Do you know? Pick a spot on that thread where you want it.
Right about here.
Okay. So put the heart below it where you want it, and let's make sure it's on screen. There you go. Very good. And we're just going to apply glue. It's a small piece, so I'm not going to try and get all over, but I want to make sure I get a good coating of glue on top of the thread. I'm going to use the top of this heart to kind of spread it around a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to place them together. Now, you see I got too much glue, but that's all right. Brie, I'm going to get a wipe, baby wipe, to clean up. If you can squish that out. Lynn looked it up. Let me wipe that off. Okay, and what you're going to do is just give it I want you to hold that. You wipe off whatever you need to wipe off. Okay, don't worry about cutting off the end or anything. At this point, we just want to get it attached. And you're just going to hold it for like a few seconds. Do you feel like it's really caught?
Mm-hmm.
The glue has started to get tacky. And then you're just going to leave it to finish drying.
Okay.
And you can leave the extra there, or you can cut it off so it doesn't poke out the bottom. What do you want?
I'm going to cut that off.
Very good. Now, I just think that's adorably shabby chic looking.
So fun.
You could have as many bookmarks as you want, of course.
I would like a bookmark for every page.
Yeah, you could. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
It'd be very heavy.
All right, that's it for our tutorial.
Yay!
And we'll have more great ideas for you in the future. But for now, that's all. Bye.
Bye.